doesn't hurt.
I'm disappointed. It's really fun.
Hope so. Yes, it will.
And Julia,
Yes.
can you sit next to me?
Yep.
You're going to basically just point out when graphics are coming.
Okay, do you have the modified script?
This is
Normally,
modified.
Normally I printed 3 per each. Do you have
Yeah.
my And what should I do when she arrives? So I explained about the glass, the script and so, but during the session.
Well, first she's going to be late,
So I have to say.
so that's just slack. Unfortunately, there's a...
Ah,
Yeah. Right on time.
and after?
Et on a fait du ouvert.
Non, je sais pas où ça se trouve, mais il est ici.
Chope 2 bouteilles d'imprimé, on s'en fout.
Ah ouais?
Une rouge, une blanche.
Hi everybody, I'm Katarina, your wine advisor at Vivant. I am happy to welcome you in our online tasting experience, focusing on the prestigious wine sub-region of Côte de Beaune in Burgundy. I personally love the Côte de Beaune because that is where some of my favorite wines are from. We're here to have a good time while we learn. Our experience is interactive and we encourage you to participate. Who is with us today? Introduce yourself and let me know where you're tuning from through the chat. On the right hand side, you'll find a button. If you have specific questions, I invite you to send a message and I will try to answer as many of your questions as I can during the session. Feel free to participate anytime. I recognize a couple of new people. Throughout the experience, I will send you some questions, so stay tuned and get ready to click, and may the best Vivant win. Hello. We will be together for about 60 minutes and we are going to... everybody's participating. We're going to learn how to taste wine like a professional, understand natural factors that influence the style of wine, see how local grapes influence the style of wine, appreciate how winemaking influences the style of wine, experience how time influences the style of wine, and of course we will taste 6 carefully selected wines from Côte de Beaune. But first, let me immerse you in the region throughout the beautiful images. This is exactly why I'm in love with Côte de Beaune. I hope you enjoyed these images. It's time to start looking together at the wine tasting method we will follow today. On one side, you find the whole approach on what to assess in terms of appearance, nose, on the other side, you find a list of main aromas and flavors you can encounter while tasting wine. They are listed under 3. Here to guide you while we are tasting wine. Of course, the list is not exhaustive and your perception might be a little bit different from other people's perceptions, so do not worry if you do not always agree with when I describe aromas and flavors of wine. It is not a scientific approach and you can add your own terms to describe what you feel when tasting a wine. All right, let's start and use this method to describe our first wine. It is time for our first wine tasting.
Bill, can you just...
Sound is cut, they cannot hear.
So you're gonna have to speak loud.
Me?
Yeah. Go.
We are tasting a Meursault 2017. Meursault is located in the Côte de Beaune, in between two other famous villages, Puligny-Morachet and Volnay. Meursault had an international reputation for producing elegant white wines from Chardonnay grape. Chardonnay is actually the most planted white grape variety in the world, thanks to the high reputation of Chardonnay-based Burgundy wines. It is cultivated in the village of Meursault. Meursault enjoys a moderate continental climate, bringing ripeness and keeping acidity in the grapes. The soil of these appellations are rich with limestone deposits, ideal for producing aromatic, balanced wine. To create the 2017 Meursault, don't hesitate to swirl the wine in the glass so it can breathe and get some air, oxygenate a little bit, and with that it's gonna open up to you even better. So on the nose I would start with primary aromas. That would be our fruit aromas. I would suggest we have quite a lot of tropical accents, so think of some tropical fruits. I would also suggest that some of you tell me a couple of fruits that you recognize in this wine by sending in our chat. Just one fruit. Think of tropical, I would say. And something like pineapple, mango, maybe some dried fruits as well. So go ahead, and I would really appreciate if each of you sends me one fruit that you smell in this wine. Guava. I have guava. Very interesting. Very interesting. Anything else? Don't hesitate. It's not. There's no right or wrong answer. You are just basically describing your smell and senses. So far, just one guava. Come on, guys. Okay, let's move on. Oh, I have pear. Beautiful. Pear. Completely agree. Let's move on to the palate and let's give us a taste. But before we taste, make sure that you activate all of the receptors in your palate. That means holding the wine in your mouth just a little bit and trying at the same time to give it a little breathe, a little sip of air, so that it opens up and really attracts all of your palate and activates it, so you can really enjoy it. Ah, beautiful. What do you think on the palate? Can you name me a couple of aromas that you can also support on the palate, let's say? So usually when the wine is well made, I would say that it has typically the very balanced nose and the palate. So if we have pear, for example, on the nose, then we can automatically feel it on our palate. So it's also quite a lot of tropical aromas, let's say, like this dried fruits. The wine is dry, definitely. As it was aged in oak, it developed some of the creamy aromas, a little nuttiness as well, I would say. So since we are tasting a Chardonnay, and we've discussed a little bit about the primary aromas and the aromas on the nose, and also some accents on the palate, I suggest that we kind of sum up and see what are the typical characteristics to your Chardonnay grapes. So first of all, it's a lot of tropical fruits, and especially for the Meursault appellation. So it's a lot of tropical fruits, and also it has a very buttery finish, a little nuttiness as well, and with time it will develop more sophisticated butteriness, for example like baguette I would suggest, and also a little bit of brioche, so with more exquisite, maybe the minerality will be much more present. But for now, 2017, it was quite a warm vintage, so yeah, this is a beautiful wine. I hope you enjoy this first wine tasting. Feel free to send me your comments and questions on the chat. It is fine if you didn't get all the aromas or flavors. The more you will train yourself, the more you will find it easy. Now I would like for you to ask me some questions and take the opportunity to rate this wine and write your comments. How would you rate this wine? So we have a 5-star rating. Remember, there's never a right or wrong answer. Trust your senses and judge it according to your opinion. It is time for a second wine tasting. We are tasting a Puligny-Montrachet 2017. The stony soils of Puligny-Montrachet, located between Meursault and Chassagne-Montrachet, are widely known for full-bodied and intense Chardonnays. 230 and 300. Grapes are hand harvested and destamped. After gentle pressing and fermentation, Puligny-Montrachet is aged in Look at your tasting approach, and let's go through our tasting. That the color is quite pale, but also at the same time not quite pale, quite intense, I will say, so middle intensity. This will tell us also quite a lot about the vintage. So we are drinking the 2017 vintage, which was quite a warm vintage, so the color would be also quite visible, let's say. Afterwards, let us smell the wine. Let's think about the primary aromas, because the secondary aromas and the tertiary aromas really come with time usually. So for the primary aromas, for some fruits, and maybe I would even say flowers, I would suggest that this one compared to Meursault is quite mineral. So we have more freshness. What fruits do you usually associate with freshness? I would go with apple. I would go with some maybe lime and citrus fruits. Let us see if it's the same on the palate. I would suggest yes. I would suggest that it is quite mineral already. I have this kind of crispy freshness, less of this oaky, buttery aromas, but more on the mineral, even a slight, little tone of saltiness.
Let's just wrap up. Questions and comments.
Questions and comments?
Comments and ratings.
So, I would also invite you to rate this wine. And again, feel free to send your comments and questions on the chat.
Transition.
Sunny lemons. That's nice. So if you have any questions, again, feel free to ask. I'm here for you and I would like you to participate as much as possible. I have some, most of you are agreeing that we have a very crisp and a very fresh touch. So we have a lot of citrus fruits, some sunny lemons. Completely agree as well. It is time, so since there are no questions, it is time for our third wine. We are tasting another white, which is a Ladois. Now it is Premier Cru Les Grechons in 2017 vintage. Ladois is the final vineyard in the northern Côte de Beaune before entering the Côte de Nuit. Les Grechons is one of the highest plots positioned on the steep sides of the hill of Corton. It sits on steep sedimentary fossil-rich soils. In 2017, summer was warm and dry, resulting in balanced and aromatic Chardonnays. Grapes are hand-harvested and de-stamped. After gentle pressure, round butteriness coming from. It's definitely more complex, I would say. So we have a quite distinct secondary aroma. So we have a touch of this toastiness, of maybe toast baguette, and little cream as well, I would say. Let us taste the wine. Now don't forget to really cover up all of your palate to really feel the wine and hold it a little bit in your mouth, kind of play with it. This one has a very beautiful length. The wine is, the complexity you can feel there. It's a beautiful combination between the minerality and this kind of butteriness. You can really feel the oak barrels, this creaminess, this kind of little like folie that wraps up around your mouth. So it's very, very nice. The video is not synchronized. Says here. Sorry, we have some troubles. With the video, it will be just a second. If they say that they cannot see me anymore. C'est bon.
Can I go?
Okay, for Lina it's okay. Should be okay. They see me now.
So let's just vote on that last wine.
Continue?
Shall I do it again?
Let's vote.
Let's vote, okay.
Last
And
one.
now as usual it's time to describe your wine and of course to rate it. Yeah.
In a second, you're going to go to the question 1.
7. Okay, so I said. God, this is.
I can't.
Huh? Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine?
Let's do question 1.
So I send the question 1.
Yep.
Okay, let us proceed with question 1. Where is Burgundy located? You have 4 answers. Read them carefully. If there's, for any reason you cannot see the questions, also let me know. So I have 1, 2, 3, already 4 answers. In the northeast of France, between Paris and Lyon. That is the correct answer. Bravo to all of you who answered correctly.
Next question.
Wait, it's 2. Sorry. So.
It's already up. Next question.
But I don't see it here. So Chablis, now we have some differences here in the answers. But I can see the question. So Chablis, I believe Chablis is the right answer because this is what the majority answered. Let's move on. Question 3. In Chablis, we are typically, and you have the 4 options: red with floral notes, red fruits, flavors, and leather aromas and flavors. The second is red with black fruits and toasty oak aromas. Number 3, white unoaked with citrus fruits and distinctive minerality. White unoaked with rich butter, cream, and nutty flavors. That is number 4. I am very looking forward to reading your answers. Most of you are right, this is correct. White unoaked with citrus fruits and distinct minerality. Question number 4. Let me read it out loud for you. What is not true about Pinot Noir? It's a complicated grape to grow. It has thick skins and as a result, wines are high in tannins. It produces wine with red fruits flavor profiles. It is adapted to cool continental climate. Are you sure about thick skins? Most of you answer it has thick skins and as a result, wines are high in tannins. Pinot Noir is the grape variety that is known for its crisp acidity. So the answer is that it is well adapted to the continental climate. This is a specialty about Pinot Noir that is very, very important to know. This is what makes it different from the other grape varieties. Let us move to the question number 5. Just a second. So, question number 5. Vineyards in Burgundy are located on hillsides. Why it is important? Protects the wines from too much rain and wind. It allows grapes to have a better sun exposure. All of the above. It loves natural water drainage in the soil. Okay. Allows natural water, that is correct. Drainage in the soil allows grapes to have a better sun exposure, that is also correct. So I guess most of you can follow the answer that all of the above factors are very, very important to the positioning of the grape, of the vineyard or of the plot on the hillside. Okay, good job everybody. I'm very happy that you're participating. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 6. Lost track. The premium classification Grand Cru in Burgundy is given to specific vineyard area, specific property et château, well, a specific village. That was our last question. Okay, a specific vineyard area that is Correct. Actually, also a village. Well, it is a combination, actually, but okay. Yeah, specific vineyard area is very well. You all answered correctly. Bravo. Those who participate. One more time. So if you excuse me for a second. So we will taste another wine now. Since some of us had little problems with connection, we will now taste the Ladois Premier Cru Les Grechons 2017 one more time. I would invite you to take the glass of white wine. I hope you still have some. And we've tasted it. Let us start with color as usual. So it is middle intensity, I would say. On the nose, it's quite complex. From the primary aromas and fruits, I would go with apple, maybe a little bit of pear, but also this very distinct citrus aromas. It could either be a mandarin, it could either be citron, a lemon for you, or lime as well. These all belong to one category. Then let's have a sip. The wine is also quite complex on the palate. It's very vibrant. It has a beautiful minerality, just maybe a little touch of salinity as well. The nose also present on the palate, like we've discussed. We have a nice tropical accent, and at the same time very nice crisp acidity, which makes it also quite complex in the end. The wine could be aged, I believe, for a couple of years to open its full potential. Let's move to red wine and taste our fourth wine. So we are tasting a Marange Premier Cru Les Loyères 2017, located in the very south of Côte de Beaune. Marange is a clear extension of the geography and vines of its neighbor Santenay, and enjoys a full southern exposure, as well as marly clay and limestone-rich soils. Named an official appellation in 1988, it is the youngest AOC of the Côte de Beaune and home to 7 Premier Crus. Here, the two Les Loyères terroirs produce a Premier Cru Pinot Noir bursting with freshness and energy. After a warm, dry summer, in 2017, our winemakers picked and destemmed the grapes by hand, followed by pressing, tasting together. So the color, I would say, as usual, we start first with the color. The color is quite pale as well, but shows no signs of aging. That means we don't have any brownish color on the rim. Brownish color on the rim. Let's give it a nice deep smell. So it is quite intense, very typical for Marange smell, so already quite intense, quite rich. We have also like a little bit heat. I would say it's more coming from this intense fruit aromas, like we have some plum, dark cherry. Maybe it shows a little bit signs of candied fruits, and I would say it has a little bit of marmalade notes. Let's give it a taste. On the palate, it's also quite vibrant. It's very lively. I would say it is also this heat that we have in the nose, which is usually a particular sign of a warm vintage. It's also quite present on the palate. So we have this kind of cooked fruits. Imagine a bowl of cooked fruits where you have all kinds of cherries, the blackberries, the red currant a little bit as well, and they're all mixed and kind of heated up. So we have this fruit compote as well. But at the same time, we have a very pleasant freshness that comes in the aftertaste. What do you think about it? Maybe every one of you can also give one black fruit that you've noticed that really stands out in the wine. would really appreciate it to contribute to the conversation a little bit and to get you to participate. Go ahead, name one red fruit that you have in the wine that is present both in the palate and in the nose. Plums, beautiful. Completely agree. Dried plums, that's interesting. That is absolutely correct. It has a little bit, especially with age, it will develop a little like smokiness that is typical as well of dried plums. So very good. Let us, if there aren't any questions, we're going to move on.
Vote. Describe. Vote and describe.
I vote. It's true. Yes, let us take some time to describe the wine and as well as vote for it. How would you rate it? So you have 5 beautiful stars. Present one, yeah. Talking about questions, we received a question via Twitter about Burgundy wines from Anne Smith. What is the difference between a Grand and Premier Cru? I have to speak. Explain it. So basically, the concept of the terroir. Oh, that's. So the concept of the terroir plays a very, very important role in Burgundy. And basically, the difference between a Premier Cru plot and a Grand Cru plot is that the factors that are microclimate, the soil, the exposition and the position of the plot in the vineyard, as well as grape varieties, they are so well combined that this combination is unique. It's one of a kind. And the better this combination, the higher the plot will be classified. So if all of these factors have the best, let's say, interaction between them, the plot will be classified as a Grand Cru. And if they are just a little bit, let's say, as an example, I would mention position of the plot on the hill, on the slope. So if we have a better exposition to the sun, perfect soil, great grape varieties that matches the soil, beautiful microclimate, but the exposition is a little bit not that favorable, then it will be lesser classified. And if everything is just perfect, then the plot will be classified as a Grand Cru. Another question? So to finish, we will taste 2 more wines. The first one will be the Clos Maremauche 2012 and also Clos Maremauche 2017 from beautiful appellation of Pommard. So first we will start with 2017 Clos Maremauche. So as you know, it is the Climat Clos Maremauche. It's situated in the village of Pommard, which is in the very heart of Côte de Beaune. The 2017 vintage, as I said, was quite warm, and the grapes have received a beautiful ripening, but at the same time the cooler nights of the continental climate in Burgundy and in Pommard allowed it to retain its acidity, which should be also very, very present in Pommard. Let us look at the color. Oh, it's quite intense. I would say it is a dark ruby color. Let's give it a you can really feel the ripeness. So I would go with as well plums, maybe some cassis, cherry definitely. Go ahead and let me know if you agree. Maybe you have also some freshness in it as well, in the wine in 2017. It is quite young. I would also suggest that we have this kind of greenish side, almost like the fruits are mixed with the leaves. Let's give it a taste. Yes, cherry. So the wine is quite impressive on the palate. Really shows quite a lot of characters. The tannins are very, very present. I think with age, the tannins will develop into this silky texture that will coincide very well with acidity, and we will have a beautiful balanced wine. But it is definitely quite young, so I would keep it for a couple of years just to let it be balanced more. More acidity than previous. Well, that's very possible because Pommard is situated actually, that is more acidity than the previous one, because the Pommard appellation is situated a little bit more the north than the appellation of Marange, the first red wine that we tasted. I agree with the cooler smelling, but I would also, I would say that it is this coolness that is synonymous to this greeniness that I have. But also the cooler taste may come from the secondary aromas that bring up a little bit like this mint, and you have some herbal tone in it. I think this is what the freshness that you're talking about may come from. So it's definitely, again, as I said, quite complex. Let us rate this wine. And of course, you're welcome to write down your comments. Perfect. Let's move on to the next one. And now what's so interesting about it is that we are going to discover as well the same appellation. We are going to the village of Pommard, the beautiful Clos-Maramonge Climat, but in a different vintage in 2012. 2012 is regarded as well as quite a vintage where there was enough, it was quite warm, it was very nice weather, with qualitative and quantitative at the same time. And it's beautiful, so you have really an idea, before you taste 2012, you have an idea how basically 2017 will develop itself, how it will age. Let's start with the color. So, and you can see the color shows really some signs of aging. We have a quite dark, very pale rim, and the dark center. So this is a typical sign of aging. If you see a red wine, when it ages, it tends to lose color, and the white wine, when it ages, it tends to gain color, to become more intense. So this wine definitely shows some signs of aging. Let's give it a smell. I'm sure here you can really smell you can really notice the secondary aroma. So we have some leathery accents, we have some spices as well, such as cinnamon, cloves as well. So it's becoming much more complex, the wine, and you can really concentrate on the secondary aromas here, and even some tertiary aromas, I would say. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Because most of the time we've tasted today the younger vintages, so 2017, and this one is beautiful to combine and to really concentrate on this tertiary aromas. A little bit leathery as well, and I'm sure if you swirl it more, definitely smoother. Smooth is a good word. Let's, talking about smoother, let's give it a taste. You should really be able to feel this silkiness and this kind of velvety touch of the tannins, that they're not as harsh, not as green as the 2017, not as earthy. They become very, very smooth, and they carefully coat your palate. So it's very gentle, yes, very ripe, I completely agree. And concentrate here on your aftertaste, on when you drink the wine, when you swallow it, just take a couple of seconds and really concentrate, really count even how long the wine vibrates or stays in your palate. And you will as well have this herbal kind of touch in the end, that etheric, that it brings you even, that prolongs your pleasure. If you have any comments, you're welcome to write anything. Any questions?
Vote.
Let's vote. So, how would you rate this wine? Great, I've rated mine already, so. And now, just give me a second. Let us move to question number 16. So I'm just going to read out loud the question. What is Le Loyer indicating in the Premier Cru Le Loyer? Okay. The name of the winemaker. Let me know your answers. Okay, we have some pioneers. You are all correct. The name of the climat in Burgundy. Bravo. Let us move to the second question. Actually, question number 17. There's no... Don't be too harsh on yourself. Burgundy is one of the most complex wine regions in the world, and Pinot Noir as well is a great variety, so don't be too harsh on yourself if you didn't get that. So question number 17. Usually, wines made from Pinot Noir offer what type of aromas and flavor profile? So I would say the first answer, this one is actually quite difficult to get to guess, and I would say it could be a bit controversial. So think about Pinot Noir always as a very thin and elegant structured wine. So you can also basically think of the fruits that are thin and quite rich in acidity. As I said, the Pinot Noir has a thin skin, so you cannot extract a lot of tannins, and you cannot extract a lot of color from it. So it's usually a thin structure. So think about the lightest fruits, such as strawberries, such as raspberries. And what we haven't mentioned about Pinot Noir, I believe it's because we had a certain tasting profile. We've drunk quite a lot of young vintages, ripe vintages, so the vintages where the weather was quite warm. But if we go to, if we visit the vintages that were not that warm, where the weather condition was quite cool, in those vintages, the wine produced all over Côte de Beaune and Côte de Nuit, they would have a little aroma of undergrowth and moss, as we say it, this kind of wet forest floor, and that would later develop into truffly aromas, like truffles and some mushrooms as well. So the right answer here would be the red fruits, such as strawberries and raspberries, and this moss, which is also equivalent to wet forest floor aromas and little like truffles with aging. Actually, bravo, you've all answered correctly here. Not all of you, but well. Great job, great job. Very proud of you. Let's move to the next question. Okay. Question number 18, if I'm keeping a correct count. Which one of these wines cannot be white? That's also partially, I haven't mentioned that, but well. That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one because in Burgundy you have to have a great memory to memorize the appellations for the red wines and for the white wines, or the exclusive appellations. There are usually some exceptions, but there are also a lot of prejudice. But bravo, you all answered correctly. It's Pommard. It's our lovely village of Pommard. The white one in Pommard can only be made in China. So, question number 19. Let's move on. What would you best pair Clos Maramonge 2016 with? Yes, correct. We haven't actually talked about some food pairing. So, just to give you a hint, Pinot Noir is an excellent friend and accompaniment to your food. Can handle quite a lot. I am excited. Now, food pairing is usually something which you experiment with. So exactly here, there's not really a right or correct, or wrong or right answer. But just the general rule. The general rule is usually that you pair the white wines. You think of color and you think of region. So white wines best go with this kind of light dishes, so fish and very light meat, and red wines usually go with red meat. And I also mentioned region because regional cuisine is something which pairs usually perfectly with regional wines. Acidity is also a very important component to food pairing. Usually acidity pairs very well with quite intense sauces that have a little bit of saltiness in it, because acidity and saltiness, this two combine into a bit like a sweet feeling in your palate, which is very, very interesting. So most of you said braised lamb shank. I would completely agree. Lamb brings out also some this vegetal and animalistic almost aromas in Pinot, and it's also quite juicy lamb, so it's gonna be perfectly combined with the juiciness of the Pinot Noir, this kind of succulence that Pinot Noir has. Let's move to a different question. 19, if I'm correct. So, question 19. What would you best pair Clos Noremonge with? We've had that. 20? Excuse me. So many questions. Let's move to question number 20. Is there a question number 20? Okay. So, in Clos Noremonge vineyard, grapes are farmed. I have not mentioned that. Sorry. But you should know that. You see so many horses in our vineyard. If you were once at least on the website of Château de Pommard, you've seen probably a lot of that we pay attention a lot to making pictures of the nature, of our horses. That means we care about nature a lot. That means we are concerned with natural balance very much, and this should be a hint. Bravo! Following biodynamic principles. That is correct. That was wonderful. Thank you very much for participating. Please follow us. Don't forget to follow us on social media if you are present. And thank you very much.